the solution is to form a one-world government. So you create the problem, get the desired reaction from the people, and implement the solution. And this is repeated over and over until their goal is realized. So for a new world order to arise, the economic engine and the military force in the world, which is now America, must end. And a nation-state taxes its own citizens, while an empire taxes other nations, not just its own states. The history of empires, from Greek and Roman to Ottoman to British, teaches that the economic foundation of every single empire is the taxation of other nations. That imperial ability to tax has always rested on a better and stronger economy, and as a consequence, a better and stronger military. One part of the subject, taxes, went to improve the living standards of the empire. The other part went to strengthen the military dominance necessary to enforce the collection of those taxes. So, historically, taxing the subject state has been in different forms, usually gold, silver, where those were considered money. But also slaves, soldiers, crops, cattle, other agriculture and natural resources, whatever economic goods the empire demanded. And the state that was under their thumb could deliver, is how it worked. Historically, imperial taxation's always been direct. The controlled state handed over the goods directly to the head of the empire. For the first time in history, in the 20th century, America was able to tax the world indirectly through inflation. It didn't enforce the direct payment of taxes like all the empires that came before them did, but it instead distributed its own American dollar to other nations in exchange for goods. And what they intended through doing that was devaluing those dollars and paying back later each dollar with less economic goods. The difference captures the United States imperial tax. Here's how it happened. In the early 20th century, around 1908, 1909, 1910, the United States economy began to dominate the world economy. The U.S. dollar was tied to gold then, so the value of the dollar stayed exactly the same, always a certain amount of gold. The Great Depression was caused by the Illuminati. Inflation set in from 1921 to 1929, and its ballooning government bills drastically increased the amount of currency in circulation. And so for the United States dollar, it couldn't be backed by gold any longer. So Roosevelt took the dollar off the gold standard in 1932. So economically, the American empire was actually born with Bretton Woods in 1945. The U.S. dollar was not on the gold standard, but it was made convertible to gold only to foreign governments. This established the dollar as the reserve currency of the world. It was possible because during World War II, the United States, being used as a cover for the real power Britain, supplied its allies with goods, demanding gold as payment. And by doing this, they grabbed the lion's share of the world's gold. America did. An empire would not have been possible if the dollar supply was kept limited and held within the availability of gold, so as to fully exchange back dollars for gold. So the dollar was relentlessly increased to finance Vietnam and Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. He just kept printing more and more American dollars, and most of those dollars were handed over to foreign governments in exchange for goods, without the prospect of ever buying them back at the same value. And more foreign governments collected more and more American dollars. It was actually a tax that the United States imposed on the rest of the world. In 1970, 1971, foreign governments demanded payment for their dollars and gold. The U.S. government had to default on its payment because it didn't have any gold on August 15th, 1971. The popular spin or lie that was told to you about severing the link between the U.S. dollar and gold, in reality, the denial to pay back in gold, was really an act of bankruptcy by the U.S. government. Now they're really in deep. Iran's coming on the scene. The gold standard, and just started printing as many as they liked and passing them around, taking an incredible amount of goods from other foreign countries, with never the hope of them ever getting back real money, something that was worth something for the goods that they gave America. In actual fact, the United States of America went broke August 15th, 1971. They are bankrupt and in an $8 trillion debt. They became an empire. They took in a huge, and are taking in a huge amount of economic goods from the rest of the world with no intention or ability to return those goods. And the world is powerless to respond. So far. The world is taxed and can't do anything about it. From that point on, for the Illuminati to keep the American empire in business and to continue to tax the rest of the world, the United States had to force the world to continue to accept American dollars that are getting more and more worthless in exchange for goods, and to have the world hold more and more of those appreciating dollars. It had to give the world an economic reason to keep them. And you know what that reason is? Oil. The Illuminati, through the United States, now had the world over a barrel, an oil barrel. And now we're over it big time. Enter the business partners of the British royals, the Saudi royal family. In 1971, as it became clearer and clearer that the U.S. government would not be able to buy back its dollars and gold, it made, in 1972, 1973, an ironclad arrangement with Saudi Arabia to support the power of the House of Saud in exchange for accepting only U.S. dollars for its oil. The rest of OPEC, which are the Saudi cousins, followed along and accepted only U.S. dollars also. And because the world had to buy oil from the Arab oil countries, it had a reason now to hold American dollars as payment for oil, you see, because the world needed ever-increasing quantities of this black gold at ever-increasing oil prices. So the world's demand for dollars could only increase, right? Even though dollars could be exchanged for gold. But they were now exchangeable for black gold, oil. The American dollar was now backed by oil. So the rest of the world has had to accumulate increasing amounts of dollars because they need those dollars to buy oil. As long as the dollar was the only acceptable payment for this stuff called black gold, its dominance in the world was assured. And the Illuminati, through America, could continue to tax the rest of the world. See, the American dollar is the only currency by which you can buy oil. There are only two places at the moment where you can buy it: New York and London. On the London Stock Exchange, it's the International Petroleum Exchange, which has just been purchased by ICE. ICE. That's the Intercontinental Exchange, which sells it on the New York Mercantile Exchange. So now there's really only two places and one company, ICE, where you can buy oil by the barrel. So listen carefully now. If, for any reason, the dollar lost its oil backing, what do you think would happen to the American empire? It will crash. I believe now we are getting to the point in time where the Illuminati are ready to crash America's economy. I've been talking about this for about 4 to 5 years on AM 640 Toronto Radio. Out of the fire and smoke will come the New World Order. It's the myth of the phoenix. It's the ancient mystery Egyptian religion of Osiris and Horus. Out of the destruction of one arises the other.